Hey everybody, it's Amber, it's Wednesday. Before I really get started, I feel like I have to say something because it is September 11th and I'm posting this video on September 11th. This day is always difficult for me. I was an 18-year-old college student when September 11th happened. I'd been at college for 2 weeks and it was a scary time. But I want to say 12 years later that I think this day should always be a reminder for us to hug and hold people tight, to call the folks that we love and let them know that we love them, to reach out, to help each other, and to be kind and try to create a more peaceful world. And our topic this week is queer, the word queer and language and all that sort of stuff. This was actually a topic that I suggested. A friend of mine a couple weeks ago put up a post on Facebook, and she identifies as straight, cisgender, female, and she was asking about the word queer and talking about, as an ally to the community, that she's uncomfortable with a word that has a negative history being used to describe the community and being used by individuals as an identity. And so she was asking for people's thoughts, and it really, there was quite a bit of debate and discussion, and it was surprisingly really civil, which was great. But I had suggested this to the other folks on the channel as a topic that might be interesting for us to take a little time to explore. So one of the comments to my friend's post was from a professor at the University of Dayton, and she said, when you look at queer politics really tries to problematize not only the language that we use, but also the social conventions that we have and the ways that we really look at marriage, at terms like straight and gay, at what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be in a couple in the US and in the world, and tries to spur on some discussion about how really everyone is queer. Everyone is outside of the normal because there is no normal. So it was for me, it was a really interesting way to think about it, because that is not the way that I tend to think about queer as a movement. I think about it sometimes that way in terms of queer as my individual identity, but I don't always think about it for queer as a movement. My response to the post was that I think there's a few things going on with the word queer. One, I think there's definitely a movement within the community to try and reclaim the word. It does have a negative history of being, with the definition of being odd, different, not normal. And there are a lot of folks, myself included, who are trying to reclaim the word because it does speak to something for us. I also said that for me, I do identify as queer because I never felt like the other labels exactly fit for me. I'm not a huge fan of the word bisexual. It just doesn't feel right, and I don't have a big explanation or word or reason why, but it always felt a little uncomfortable for me. And I never liked the word lesbian either, because I felt the same way. It doesn't exactly express what I want to express. So for me, the word queer captures, and my identity as queer captures the nuances that are my sexuality and my gender. And especially around the gender piece, that while I am a cisgender female, my expression isn't always 100% female. And queer expresses that for me and captures that piece for me. I also said that I think there are a lot of people, and I was thinking about many of the friends that I have on Facebook and know through my professional work and in life, who do identify as queer because they don't like the other words. Some of my gay male friends who identify as queer, it speaks to some of the ways in which they are not just a gay man, that they also do drag. They also can be hypermasculine and play rugby or football, and it catches the nuances, I think, for me and for some other folks as well. I think the difficult part for people is it does have a negative history, and I think there's a power to us as a community trying to reclaim that word and to give it a positive definition. I also think, in terms of it being a community word, that sometimes it can be a word that is used to describe the whole community. The problem I have with the alphabet soup we kind of get into in the community is you get either LGBT or LGBTQ or LGBTQQIA and lots of other letters. And it can become, the letters can become cumbersome in a way, and they can also not really express everyone. Because there are folks who sit underneath the trans umbrella who wouldn't necessarily call themselves trans. And there are women who love women who the word lesbian or bi doesn't really fit them exactly. So I appreciate it in that, even though it can feel kind of reductionist to take one word to describe the whole community, I think in a lot of ways it does. I think it speaks to the part of the community that we are all either sexual or gender related minorities, and that we sit outside of what society sees as normal. And so yes, it does mean odd, different, but odd and different isn't always a bad thing. So those are my thoughts on queer. And if you live in the hot regions of the country like I do, I hope things are cooling down for you. I know we are looking forward to the cool down this weekend. And I hope everyone has had a great week and has a wonderful weekend. And we will see everybody next week.